Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the She.Must.Knit podcast. My name is Erin, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to show you what I've been working on. This is the first episode, and I think I've got everything set up. I've got my tea in my Friends mug. I love Friends. Any of you love Friends? I'm drinking. What am I drinking today? It's maple rooibos from my friend Jen. Hi, Jen. It's delicious. So I thought I'd have that with me. I better take a sip. There we go. We're all set. I think I have everything ready. I've got some exciting things to show you, I think. Anyway, what do I have? I have one finished object. I have a work in progress. And then I have an upcoming knit that I'm very excited about. And I'm surprised I'm excited about based on the type of project it is, but I'm still excited about it. And then at the very end, like I mentioned in my introduction video, if you haven't seen that, it's just a little bit of background about where I've come from as a knitter. I'll link it below if you're interested. But I mentioned that part of this podcast, what I want to do is have a small collection of bags and yarns that I make and dye at the end of the episode, and I have my first collection for you today. So I'm excited to show that. And I have some exciting business shipping news. So we'll get to that too. So what are we going to start with? We are going to start with a finished object. And this was, it was a project that I wasn't planning on making. Actually, you know what we need to talk about first? We need to talk about the bingo. Okay, bingo. So Bling Your String is my business, and on Ravelry I have the Bling Your String group. And every year I try and do some sort of goal, motivated challenge, a year-long challenge so that people can set some goals in the beginning of the year, and then as the year progresses, try and reach those goals. So this year I decided to do it in a bingo format. So everybody made a bingo card and filled it up with all kinds of goals, some small goals, some big goals. Big goals could be broken down into smaller goals over several boxes, but we've been working hard, the group has been working hard at achieving those goals. So the reason I want to mention this is because a lot of the projects that I'm going to be sharing now and over the course of future episodes are going to be driven by those goals. Okay, so that's my focus. Like I'm trying to check off those bingo boxes, and so I'm going to be choosing projects and choosing yarns that help me reach those little goals, right? So bringing it back to my FO, that's why I was like, bingo. I wasn't planning on making this project. It wasn't really on my radar, but about 2 weeks ago, it was March break here, and my daughter was out of school, and on one of the days, we decided to go to the library, and they had a movie day. So I was like, okay, that'd be, about 2 hours. She can watch the movie, and I can find a nice quiet spot and knit. And then I was like, oh no, what am I going to knit, right? Problems. And I didn't have, see, the problem was at the time I didn't have a vanilla sock. I didn't have something that I could just mindlessly work on and not worry about. Everything I was working on was at a stage where I had to concentrate or I had a pattern, and it was a knitting emergency. So I had to look through my my patterns. I was trying to get some inspiration, what yarn I had. One of my goals this year is to work from stash, so what do I have in my stash that I can work with? And I decided to cast on a hat, a nice simple hat. I was like, okay, hat. Now, all I need is one that's going to be easy to do. So again, one of my goals on my bingo is to use patterns I've already purchased. I'm trying not to purchase new patterns unless I'm going to be casting on right away. And so I went through my library and I was looking for a hat pattern that, I've already purchased, that I really wanted to make, I just haven't gotten around to, that will fit yarn that I already have in stash, that will be easy to knit at the library, mindlessly, and it was a whole bunch of qualifications I had to find. But I ended up finding the hat. So I made it, it's done. I'm going to show you what it's supposed to look like first, because I made minor modifications, and that was basically because of yarn, how much yarn I had. So this here is the gelting hat, and you'll see from the picture that it's kind of a slouchy, it's like a slouchy beanie, and there's a lace motif, and there's actually a very interesting detail. But yeah, so I decided to make that hat. It's been in my queue for years, like literally years. And one of the modifications I wanted to make, I don't really wear, okay, first, I don't really wear hats. I'm not a hat person. I have one hat that I like that I made several years ago. And I figured out what works is almost beanie with just like a teeny bit of like back head pooch, right? Just a little bit. And I love that hat, and that's what I wear in the winter. However, it's a bit loose on me, and so I found this year with our winter, when I was like shoveling the driveway and stuff, as I was working and moving, the hat would like fall over my face, and it was ridiculous. Like, yeah. So I was like, I need a new hat. So I wanted to make this one, as you saw in the picture. It's slightly slouchy, and I didn't have the amounts of yarn required as stated. But I knew I wanted to make it less slouchy, so I thought, we're just going to make it work with what I have. So this is, do you notice something? It's the same yarn, but I can get into that after. So this is my finished hat. And as you can see, I think it looks much shallower than the one in the picture. There's a nice lace detail. Now, the interesting detail about this hat is that it's knit like this, kind of like a connected tube. It's like two hats that are connected in the middle. You did a provisional cast on where you see the join here. There was a provisional cast on here. You did this hat first, all the way to the top, and then picked up those stitches, and then you knit this hat. And so by doing so, you have two hats. So I could have just a solid variegated beanie-ish, slouchy beanie, whatever, slightly slouchy. Or if you flip them, there we go, I have a nice lace beanie. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this hat. There's one change that I think I would make if I were to do this again. I'll just show you how this works on me. So yeah, see, it's a double brim, and that's the other reason I really like this hat, is because it's a double layer. Not only do I have essentially two looks if I wanted to, but it's all doubled. So this should be very, very warm, and it feels pretty good around my my ears. I don't think it will slip down. But the one thing I would make, the change I would make, you see with the brim here, how you can kind of see the underneath color. I'm not totally happy with how it's not a distinct fold. And I'll put the other side, I'll flip it in. Okay. So here's the other one. See, and this side I actually don't mind that showing a little bit, but because there isn't a distinct fold line, it's hard to get it the same every time. So sometimes when I put it on, there's a bigger area of the other hat showing. And what I think I would do, and I actually thought of this while I was knitting it, after I had finished the first hat and continued on with the second hat, I was about that far up, and I was like, oh, should I have done the fold row? And what I mean by that is usually when I do, here's another hat that I've done. Usually when I do a folded brim on a hat, after you knit the first section of the brim, and then before you go on to the second section of the brim, you do a purl row. And what that does is give a very distinct solid line there for the fold. So there's no weird, like see how there's no real bend there? Like this part could come out further or further. You kind of have to fiddle with it. I kind of wish that I had, I don't want to say realize that because I knew that was a thing, but I kind of wish that I had preemptively done that with this pattern before finishing it, and then realizing, yes, I probably should have done that. As it is though, like after I blocked it, it did improve, but I kind of wish I had that fold line. So if you were to do this, or if I were to do this again, after you finish that first hat, I would just do a little purl row before you continue on with the next section, so that there's a very distinct, there's a line there for you fold. It just looks, I think it looks cleaner. So yeah, that's my finished object. I think this is a really cool pattern. I would make it again. The lace was pretty easy, however. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Okay, let's look here. You can kind of see. Okay, so you see the lace down here, and it's like kind of staggered, staggered, and then over here it starts going slanty this way, and then slanty this way. This area here was me figuring, oh, I've got this. I know this pattern. I've got it figured out. I don't need to look at it anymore. No. Obviously I did not, but I don't think it matters. I think it looks fine. I don't think anyone's going to care, and I don't care. Little things like that. See, I wish I had changed this, but I don't care about this. So, and I had just enough yarn. So this was leftovers. Obviously from this. This is my ingenue that I made last year. I had leftovers of this. I put some of the leftovers into a sweater for my daughter, and then I had a little bit left, and I decided to make it the hat because I love this color. And I had probably about a yard left. It was not a very big piece. So, but I'm pleased. I have a new hat for next winter. And because it's a hat, I can enter it in lots of different cals. And one of them is, I don't know if you know, but Barbara from the Knitting I Love podcast has an ongoing hat cal. So it's an ongoing hat. Any hat you make, you can pop it in there. I think it's been going on for quite a while, and every time she reaches a certain amount of finished objects, she does like a little drawing. So I will be putting that hat into that cal as soon as I remember to. Hopefully soon. But anyway, so yeah, finished object. So, next, work in progress. Alright, so this work in progress has had a bit of a journey. I started it, I don't even know when. Maybe 2015, could have been earlier, probably around 2015. And I mentioned this in my introduction video. I am very much a gift knitter. I prefer to just knit things and give them away, and when I knit things for myself, I don't tend to finish them, or it's a struggle. It takes a while to finish them. So I started this in 2015. It's a sweater for myself. It's a cardigan for myself. I got so far in it, and then I put it aside, probably to make things that I was going to give away. And I came back to it this year. I was like, I'm really going to try and get through all my works in progress, or what you could probably call UFOs, like unfinished objects, because they've been sitting for a while. I'm really going to try and get some of those done, or at least figure out what I want to do with them. That's another square on my bingo, is to get down to, I think, less than 5 old whips in my collection there. And this was one of them. And so I had brought it out, and I looked at it, and my intention was to actually frog it. I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to wear this. I've kind of lost my mojo on it. Don't know if I want to work on it anymore. I'm going to frog it. And then I was like, you know what? Let's try it on one more time, because I had gotten to the point where I was just, I had already separated for the arms, and the pattern is written so that you actually knit the arms before you continue on with the body. So I had the yoke done, I had the arms done. I was like, you know what, let's just try it on, and just, before I frog it, make sure that it's not going to work for me. So I tried it on, and I was like, no, I think I will wear this. I think if I can push through, I will wear this. So I decided not to frog it. So this month, I've been working on it again. And the sweater I'm working on, it's called the Atelier. Here's it. That's what it looks like there. So it's just a really easy to wear, like when you look at the project photos, everybody just looks really great in their sweater. It looks like it's going to be so easy to throw on over a top and some leggings, and just be super easy to wear. So I decided to keep going on with it. I don't know if I'm going to do the pockets, but we'll see when I get down there. But I picked it back up again, and this is how far I've gotten. Let's see, it's all jumbled. All right, sorry about that. All right, I don't even know where the top is. There we go. Okay, so see, like, the color it's a very interesting color. It's a little more purple on my screen there, but see, I've got the sleeves done, and I'm kind of down past the bust area. I think I have 1 more inch to go. The way the pattern's written is on the back, just kind of just above your waist, like where your natural waist would be, just around that area. There's like a garter tab, and then a bunch of increases to kind of flare it over your bottom half, which I will need. But that is where I'm about 1 inch from that point. So I'm getting there. I'm slowly getting there. I think I'm going to be really happy with this if I can get it done. The colors, if you look at the colors in the yarn, there's just so much in there that I think with some gray leggings and then different colored tops, it will really, really just be a very wearable piece. And that's yarn there. Yarns of Richard DeVries, and this is the Bejeweled color. And there's lots of colors in there. I think it's very pretty. So I'm excited. I don't know how long this will take me. It usually takes me a while to do things for myself, but I really do want the sweater, I think. So I'm going to plug along. Plug, plug, plug. Keep going. Chug, chug. We can do it, right? Right. So that is my work in progress. And hopefully, I don't know if you'll see it next time because I'm going to try and show different things depending on how much I've worked on them. So you'll probably see this again once I have a bigger chunk done on it. So that's that. Now, next. This project, I haven't started yet. It's one I want to start soon. And it really surprised me that I want to do it because of the type of project it was. Like how it started, it was like one of those moments that it's just, it started with, I was watching, a couple of weeks ago, I found the New Leaf podcast hosted by Carmen. And she lives in the Netherlands, and she's kind of, her podcast is, she's sharing her journey she's trying to become a full-time crochet and knitwear designer. So she's sharing her journey. And it's a lovely podcast. I added it to my list, and she showed this project, and it was a pair of socks. And when she showed the finished object, I was like, oh, those are really, really pretty socks. But, you know, it didn't cross my mind to even think about making them because they were colorwork socks. I don't do colorwork socks. I'm a plain vanilla girl, and this year, because of bingo, I'm trying to get into doing some pattern socks, but more like maybe a lace or a cable, not colorwork. So she showed these beautiful socks, and I was just admiring them. And then she started talking about how they were knit. And that's when I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So the way these were knit, these are the stripes and stranded socks. And I'll show you the picture there because they look really complicated, okay? So if you see those, that's her project photo. They look like really complicated socks. And that's why when she was sewing them, I was like, those are beautiful, but I will never, ever, 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 ever make those. But then she was explaining how what it is, it's basically two yarns. You're using a striping yarn, a self-striping yarn, and then you're doing color work within those stripes. So that's when she had my interest piqued. And I was like, I could probably do that. That sounds more simple than it looks, right? But I wasn't sure what yarn I could use because a lot of the striping yarns I have are the striping sequences, they're shorter rows, and I have a pattern, I purchased it because she's doing a cowl for the socks. And when I read the pattern, so what she's done is basically given you a whole bunch of different charts for certain rows of colorwork charts. So like here's a colorwork chart for 3 rows, and here's one for 5 rows, and here's one for 7 rows. And so based on your striping yarn and how big the stripes are, how many rows the stripes take up, you can pick which little charts you want to kind of plug in. So it's really quite neat. And I just wasn't sure if I kind of put it on, you know, I put a pin in it, and I was like, I'll come back to that because I don't know what yarn I have that will really work with the, you know, you want a bigger stripe so that you can get those colorwork charts in it. And then a couple days or a week later on Instagram just full of inspiration, right? So I was on Instagram, and one of the people I follow posted a picture of her socks. And I could see from how it was knitting up that the stripes were wider. And I knew when I saw it, I was like, I have that yarn. And not only do I have that yarn, but I have that color. I was like, perfect. I can use that yarn for those socks that I really want to do, but I didn't know how to do them. And then I was like, okay, but that yarn that I have that could be perfect for these socks is currently in another project that is in my giant whip pile, right? And so then I got to thinking, I think I had already decided that this particular whip, it was a shawl, and I mentioned in my intro video, I'm not a shawl knitter. It's more the pattern, so I'll see a pattern, I was like, oh, that's a really cool shawl, I want to make that because I'm a process knitter. and then I never finish it because I'm not going to use that shawl, right? So this yarn that I thought would be perfect for these socks was already kind of in this project, but I was kind of already sure that I was going to frog this project. So I was like, this is the perfect time. Let's get that project out. Let's get it off the needles. Let's recover that yarn, because the shawl I was going to do was a 2-color shawl, and one of the colors was the solid, and I'm like, I could use that solid with these socks. Let's go. This is perfect, right? Right. So that's kind of a background on where my thought process with this project started. Okay, so the shawl that I was working on was the Typhoon shawl by Josh Ricks, Geognittrix Designs. It's a really, really cool shawl that's made for self-striping yarn, but I am just not a shawl knitter. So when I took it out of the project bag, I had maybe the first 3 sections of the shawl done, and whenever something is multiple colors, I'm one of those knitters who I will join, or I will weave in the ends as I go, because I don't like all those dangly ends. I actually don't mind weaving in ends, so I will happily do it as I go. Now the drawback to that is that if you decide you need to rip something out or take something apart, you've got all those ends that you have to then unpick. So I was working on the Typhoon shawl. I had maybe 3 sections done. It was all nice and ends woven in. I was like, I really don't feel like ripping all that back. And I figured I probably didn't need that yarn. Like, I think with the amounts I have, I think Carmen mentioned that she was able to get 2 pairs of socks out of the 2 balls of yarn that she had. So I was like, I probably don't need that yarn. So what I decided to do is just cast it off, and I gave it to Avery, and now one of her little dolls has its own little Typhoon shawl. So this was the project, and this will actually show you the colors. So this here is the self-striping yarn, and this is White Birch Fiber Arts, and then this is a Volmise. And I love, personally, one of my favorite combinations is this aqua with red, and that's why I wanted to do the shawl to begin with, but it's not going to happen. Obviously it's not going to happen because now she has a fancy little shawl to wear. So the yarn did not go to waste. I cast it off. She has her own little dolly shawl that she can play with because she always sees Mommy wear her exploration station. That's my favorite shawl. And so now my yarn was free. And there we go. So it's all caked up because it was being used. This is the White Birch Fiber Arts. There. And it's Electric Slide is the color. And then this is my Volmise. And it's very bright there. It's a little deeper. It's got some purples and reds and oranges and stuff, but I love red and aqua together. So I'm going to do, this is going to be my main yarn, and then I'm going to do the little color work bits in this. And I'm hoping that it's going to turn out kind of neat. So this will be a way that I can wear the color combination that I really love, not in a shawl. I'm hoping to have this cast on for my next episode. I'm going to try and cast it on this weekend. It's Easter weekend. We have a long weekend. That can be good and bad. It means that it's a long weekend, but it also means that my family is home all weekend, and I don't tend to knit as much when they're here because they're very demanding, and small children need things, right? So we'll see. I might try to at least get the toes done and get a little bit of the color work done. So those are the projects that I chose to share with you this week. And going the next thing, I have my shop news. So first I just wanted to mention that I have some exciting show news to start with. If you are in the area, so I'm in Ontario, around the Newmarket area. And if you are in or around that area somewhere, I'm doing my first trunk show at the Knitting Basket in Rosemont. It's kind of near Alliston, between, so if you live, you know, anywhere around the Barrie, you know, I'd say Newmarket, Barrie, Alliston region, it wouldn't be very difficult to get to at all. If you're in the Toronto area, it's not a horrible drive. It's like, you know, it would probably be about an hour, but she has a lovely little shop. It's kind of like an addition to her house. It's a lovely, lovely shop. She's a lovely, lovely lady. She asked me to do this trunk show as part of her anniversary, and I was more than happy to participate. I'm going to be doing some special products just for the trunk show. Very excited. So I think if you go to her website, she'll probably have more information. But if you would be able to come, that would be awesome. I'm going to have some really cool things. Next, I've got my first little collection. Okay? So, I'm just going to zippy zip. I've got my first collection that I'm going to show on the podcast. And as I mentioned before, I'm really hoping that this segment with the collections will be driven by things that you want to see. So I would love to know in the comments, please let me know what kind of prints you like, what kind of colors, what kind of styles, because that's what I'm going to use going forward to buy fabrics and figure out how to dye yarn to go with those fabrics, etc. But my first collection I have right here, and I'm calling this one Indigo Forest. And that's just because of the fabric, and that's what it seemed like to me. So I'll show you the fabric and then I'll show you the yarn. So this here is the fabric. And for these little collections, I'm going to be doing them in my deluxe style. So I don't do when I do regular updates, I don't tend to do this because it's a little more labor intensive. But what you get is, on my zipper bag, you get the attachment that I normally do on my drawstring bags, where you can put the little matching stitch markers there. And the stitch markers are all custom to how you order them, what size rings you get. So you can choose from sock size up to bigger size. But this is the bag, and this here is a denim, and then the fabric's there, and then the inside is like this really cool kind of like, I don't know, tie-dye, but it's got all the colors. I thought it was really cool. So that's the bag. And I'm going to have 4 of these. 2 with a pink zipper and 2 with a mint zipper. So those are the bags. And then to go with that, I dyed some sock sets. So 50 grams with 20 grams. There we go. Let's see here. I got 2 of those. So they just kind of have that, that denim base and then little speckles of all the colors. And then the mini is like a teal. So I've got 2 of those. And then I did 2 sock blinks. And there's the sock blink. So again, the denim background with all the little speckles. So I think those turned out really neat. I'd love to know what you think. Let me know what you think about these little collections. And again, I'd love your feedback about what you'd like to see. The last thing I want to mention is I have some exciting shipping news for my shop. So as we know, especially if you're in Canada, shipping is bonkers. All right, Canada Post, I'm sure it's just the cost of business, you know, whatever, I don't want to get into this, but shipping prices are crazy within Canada. Like, to send something very, like, the way they work is if your envelope or package is under 25 millimeters thick, the price is very reasonable. You're looking at anywhere between $2 and $5, okay? As soon as your package goes over 25 millimeters, it starts at like $10 and will go up to $15. I think I've spent more than $15 to send a skein of yarn, or, you know, 2 skeins of yarn to the other side of the country. So it's still in Canada, but it was like $15 for 2 skeins of yarn. And then to the States, it's the same thing. Like, it can be anywhere from $10 to $15, upwards to $20 to send some skeins of yarn. And that's, like, I find even myself ordering from the US or ordering from other places, I can find a beautiful skein of yarn, but once you tack that $10, $15, $20 shipping on, it's like, is it worth it? Like, I just, a lot of times I'm like, no, I can't do that, right? So I've been dealing with this for a while, and it's just the shipping prices, they keep raising them. So finally, I've invested in a vacuum sealer. Okay, you may have seen other yarn companies do this, and I personally, as a shopper, know that if I know a certain store sends their yarn flat packed, I am more likely to order from them because the shipping is pennies compared to if it's not. So I got a sealer, and just to show you, I sealed up. I had to test it out, right? I sealed up one of the sock sets. Okay, so one of the sock sets I just showed you, this is it, sealed up. See that? This would probably be because it's 70 grams, it's under 100 grams, this will cost about $2 for me to ship within Canada. US is another story, but still, this will still be cheaper than if it wasn't sealed or like wasn't flat packed. So yeah, this would be about $2. This will be about $2 to send within Canada, and if it wasn't sealed, it would be starting at $10. Like, that's a huge difference. So just for my Canadian customers especially, I will be adjusting the shipping prices on my website to reflect the ability to do this. It means that if you were to order several skeins, it's still going to be much cheaper because I think the weight limits go up to like 500 grams. That's like 500 skeins. That would be bonkers. But 500 grams would be like 5 skeins of yarn, and it's going to be so much cheaper to ship things. So I'm excited about that. I hope you're excited about that. US, it's not as big a savings, but it's still going to be a savings, so I will be adjusting those prices. So yeah, that's my shop news and my shop collection and my projects this week. I hope you enjoyed this first episode. I know I have some bugs to work out. I'm still figuring out editing and stuff, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I'll see you again, and I hope you have a great week until next time. So until next time, happy knitting, and I'll see you again.